Right, happy birthday, Dave Starbuck, 73 years young. Dave's inquiring mind has led him to research many subjects that some people find frightening, others have never heard of, and yet others find too controversial. Subjects like revisionist history, the casualty rate of religions and the banking cartels, dirty politics, alternative health, and more. These subjects Dave exposed decades ago have since been picked up by others. Dave is a pioneer. He runs RevelationAudioVisual.com with his partner in crime, James Stewart. One of the most comprehensive DVD and CD lists in Europe on suppressed and hard to get information. He's a former stage magician from the Birmingham area. Dave has travelled a bit in his pursuit of his interests, and he went that far in his younger days, he ended up on the wrong side of the law. And also, what most people don't know, including myself until tonight, is that Dave was a former member of the RAF. So without further ado, let me present former squadron leader, Dave Starbuck.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Is everybody happy? Yes! I'll soon stop that. Now, it's really nice to be back in Blackpool. The city of waving palms. Landlady's palms. Now, this evening, too late, sound like sympathy. This evening, I've got a diversity of topics to go through. So, I'm going to start off.
Dave,
Oh, yes.
before you start, there's an admirer of yours in the audience who knows that you used to be a magician.
Yes.
And has asked me if you could do anything with that.
Right, what, the box?
No, what's inside it?
What's it say? I hate you. Hang on a minute. I don't know if I get some strange requests. Right. Now, some of your speakers, they sell crystals. I have a crystal here, which you won't get in any tarot card shop. You just pass me that over. I just took this. Okay. I need a magic wand for this. As you know, all magicians are mystic. I'm mystic, and this is mystic. These yourselves. I put that down. Right. I once knew a lady, and I like her in blue. I like her in green. I like her in red. But I like her best. Don't blink, or you miss it, when I've got her in blue.
Thank you.
And you can give that. Sorry, I wasn't expecting that, ladies and gentlemen. But Starbuck's life is full of the unexpected. Now, the first topic I want to speak about is not partly political. It's called dangerous skies. Now, I'm sure most of you good people in the audience have flown at some time or other, and generally speaking, flying is quite safe, very safe. But over the years, when a plane crashes on takeoff or landing, which is the most vulnerable time, there's been quite a few over the years, and I'm always suspicious when this happens, especially if I could see a list of the passengers. Now, about some 30 odd years ago, excuse me a moment, Over 30 years ago, I was travelling to London by train to see a publishing house to get one of my books published. And I got into conversation with a Finnish pilot. And he was over in this country, he only came to this country to visit the Science Museum in South Kensington. And during the conversation we got talking about flying, and he said that 98% of air accidents are caused by the crew. Now, this was over 30 years ago. Nowadays it's fly-by-wire, computer and so on. But we're all human. Now, there have been, I don't know how many people in this audience are into geopolitics, but many crashes, they are engineered. If there's anybody important on board. For example, a few years ago, there was a senator, I can't remember his name, but he spoke out very strongly against Israel. And he was flying back from some city in his private plane with his second wife and his daughter. And in the States, like in some houses in this country, you know these garages with the electronic doors that go up and down. Well, when it was coming into land, all the garage doors near the airport, they all went up and down at the same time, and the plane fell out of the sky like a stone, and everybody was killed. Well, nowadays, electronic equipment is really sophisticated, and what I call the men in black have is nobody's business. They have what's known as EMF weapons. That is, they can fire an electromagnetic field at the aircraft, and it shuts off all the electrical equipment, and the plane just falls out of the sky like a stone. Now, a few weeks ago, this was on the mainstream media. A pilot, nonetheless, is a highly skillful job. If you recall, 2 years ago, a Boeing 747, when it was coming into land, I think it was at Heathrow, it was on its way into land, not very low, and both engines cut. It was a Boeing 777, which is quite a big aircraft. And a few weeks ago, 2 years later, they had this investigation, and they said that it was ice which had stopped the fuel from going in. Now, the pilot, he was very quick-witted, and I don't know how many flyers we've got in the audience, but the pilot, it dropped the flaps on the wings, and when you do this, it slows the aircraft down. But in so doing, he lost height, so he put the flaps back up again. But he lost quite a lot of height, and he knew he couldn't make it to the runway, so he had to crash land. And he crash landed short of the runway. Miraculously, nobody was injured or killed or anything like that. That man should have got the George Medal. He's since left British Airways and gone to work for a safe airline, and I don't blame him. Now, on a personal note, one or two of you know, I don't exactly live in Spain, but I spend a lot of time there, but I have to commute regularly, actually via Gibraltar. And a few weeks ago, I was flying to Gibraltar on an Airbus 320, which is quite a big aircraft. And I was warned by my housekeeper in Spain that to be prepared for a diversion to Malaga. And once we were airborne, the pilot said we may be diverted to Malaga because of turbulence around Gibraltar. And I thought, well, this is fair enough. We'll lay a coach on, just a bit longer, that's all. And when we were approaching Malaga, he said, well, there was some turbulence around Gibraltar, but it may have lifted. So he said, he's going to carry on to Gibraltar. Well, the turbulence did not lift. It did not lift. And when we ran into it, I mean, I've flown quite a lot during my career. And I'm used to turbulence, and I was reading a book, and I thought, well, as long as he gets it down in one piece, if you can walk away from it, it's a good landing. I don't know whether any of you have been on an Airbus 320, but there's an aisle and 3 seats as either side. I had a window seat, and next to me there was a Chinese lady in her 20s and her husband. They lived in Gibraltar. And the turbulence, as I say, an Airbus 320, it's quite a big aircraft, and it was just being tossed about the sky like a leaf in the wind. And anyhow, eventually, he brought it in. Now, I don't know whether any of you know Gibraltar, but there's only one airstrip, and it just right out into the sea. From either end, you've got to come in from the sea, and of course take off into the sea. Anyhow, it brought it down, and it was a very, very heavy landing. It came down with a bump, and I thought, I hope to goodness it's not burst a tyre. Because if you burst a tyre on an ordinary airfield, depending if it's on the port or starboard, the aircraft will veer to the right or to the left. This is all right on an airfield because you can just go on the grass. But on a single airstrip, it would have gone into the drain. Anyhow, fortunately, it was okay. And it reverse thrust, that is to say, slowed the plane down quick. And all the passengers, they applauded. And this Chinese lady, she turned around to me, she said, "Did you hear everybody praying?" And I said, "No, I was busy reading my book." And that's how bad it was. That's how bad it was. And they applauded that pilot. And I don't want to sound pompous or anything, but if he'd have been in the service, and I'd have been his commanding officer, I'd have had him court-martialed. Everybody was glad to get down in one piece, including yours truly. But sometimes travelling by air is not always as safe as what you think. The ultimate responsibility rests with the pilot. Anyhow, enough about dangerous skies. We'll go on to something else. Now, as everybody is aware, the property market in this country is very bad. I can assure you, in Spain, it is much worse. It is much worse. It takes 3 years to sell a house in Spain. I know it's a much bigger country. And there's in the Spanish newspaper, which is printed for expats on this Costa del Sol, this one, there was an article, and in Marbella alone, every week, there are 70 houses repossessed, 70 every week. And every month there are about 600 repossessed houses come on the market at nearly half the price. And they've got a hell of a job to sell them. Most of them don't sell them. And everywhere you go in Spain, you've never seen so much property to let. And many of the owners, they've fallen into a similar trap to what they have in this country. They buy 2 or 3 properties to rent them, hoping to make an income, thinking property will go up and up. Years and years ago, I said the bubble has got to burst sometime, and it has, as we all know. And consequently, many owners, property owners, they're renting out property, villas, houses, apartments, and so forth, which is less than the mortgage, to try and get some money. For example, I share an apartment. I have a living housekeeper. She's a flatmate. She's not a bedmate, I'm sorry to say. It's a 3-bedroom. It's only 18 months old. It's 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a large lounge, a balcony, a kitchen, and so forth. And for that, we pay 450 euros a month, which is about £56 a week each, which is not bad. So this is a place called San Roque, about 15 miles from Gibraltar. So the property situation there, it is infinitely worse than what it is here. And it isn't just in Spain, ladies and gentlemen. I have a correspondent, one of my correspondents, he lives in Sri Lanka, and he has 2 hotels. He's a British expat, he has 2 hotels, which he's been trying to sell for about 12 months, because he wants to come back to the UK. Why? I cannot imagine, but he does. He still hasn't sold them. He was there, by the way, at the time of the tsunami, 5 years ago, just over 5 years ago, and his hotel's at the front, but the only damage he sustained was the damage of a few palm trees. Now, changing the subject completely, I noticed a few new faces. There's quite a few people I know who've seen me before. I've been here a few times. I talk on a diversity of topics. Now, you can all remember when we were children and how we got disillusioned with Father Christmas, right? Well, one of my correspondents in Norway, he sent me a copy of a broadcast that was done in Sweden by a Scot actually, and it was entitled The Mozart Myth, which is in our catalogue. Now, I don't know how many music lovers we've got in this audience this evening, but I am passionately fond of music, classical music like Mozart, Beethoven, Haydn, Tchaikovsky, and so forth. And for over 40 years, I've visited Vienna quite regularly, and I visited Strauss and Haus, Vienna, city of Strauss and Schnitzel. And when I listened to this broadcast, I thought I could have done with a bottle of cognac or something. He'd spent 15 years investigating the life of Mozart. Now, we've all been told that Mozart was a protege. He wrote his first sonata when he was 3 years old. He wrote 27 piano concertos, 41 symphonies, several operas, and I don't know how many sonatas and so forth. In actual fact, Mozart was nothing of the kind. Throughout his entire career, he composed about 6 pieces of music. Mozart was created. It was created because it must be remembered, at that time, ladies and gentlemen, the publishing industry was controlled by the Jesuits, later by the Rosicrucians, later by the Freemasons, later still, and largely by the Illuminati. But the Illuminati go under different handles, different names, but they all sleep in the same bed. So it was created. He did not compose the Magic of Figaro, Don Giovanni, the Magic Flute, Così fan tutti. These were composed by other people. Excuse me a moment. Throat gets very dry on this. Unfortunately, it's only water. My wife accuses me of being a hard drinker, you know, which is mistaken because I find it quite easy. But Mozart composed none of these. Now, there is something significant on the Hochzeitliches Figaro, the Marriage of Figaro, which is a most controversial political opera. The opening of that was on the 1st of May, 1786. Now, that also happened to be the birthday of a man called Adam Weishaupt, who was the founder of the Illuminati. And if anybody has examined an American $1 bill, you'll see underneath in Latin Novus Ordo Seclorum, and 1786, I think, right, that's the founding of the independence and so forth. That was the founding of the Illuminati, so the esoteric. And if you examine closely the back of a $1 bill, on the right-hand side, on the reverse, there's many Masonic symbols, which you need a magnifying glass to see.